The 11th Doctor's era is undoubtedly pretty complex and sometimes confusing. It has many different ideas, events, and moments, which some people, like myself, might not understand how it all fits together. So, in today's video, I'm going to explain in the most basic way possible how all those things fit together to create the plot line for the 11th Doctor's era. To begin with, I'll specify the things that I'm going to talk about. These things include the silence, the cracks in time, the question, and the Kovarian chapter of the papal mainframe. The events begin on Trenzalore, where a crack in time appears in the town called Christmas on Trenzalore. Now, this crack has a link to Gallifrey, and the Time Lords plan to try and use it to try and get out of their pocket universe and get back to the real universe. So their plan, they basically put a truth field through the crack into Christmas, because this crack you can travel through, and then they submit a code signal through the crack which the whole of the universe can hear. Now, every single alien and species can hear this, and they all travel to Trenzalore to see what's going off. Luckily, Sasha Lem from the papal mainframe gets there first and decides to protect the planet with a force field, and contacts the Doctor, her friend of course, to try and go down there and figure out what the signal means. So she gets the Doctor, he goes down, and he suddenly realises that this signal is the Time Lord call for help. And basically, what they want the Doctor to do is to tell them when it's safe to come through by answering the one question, Doctor Who. Now, that question is very hard to answer incorrectly because there is a truth field in Christmas. So now the Doctor has two things in mind. One, can he save the Time Lords? And two, every single enemy of the Time Lords is currently waiting outside of Trenzalore, and if he tries to set them free, a new time war will commence. Everybody waiting outside doesn't want the Time Lords to return, so they decide to try and destroy the crack or kill the Doctor to try and prevent them from coming back. So this is where Sasha Lem continues to control that field to try and stop anybody getting through. Unfortunately, people are getting through every now and again, so the Doctor decides, you know what, I'm not going to let the Time Lords through yet. I'm going to protect the town of Christmas from anybody who tries to attack it. This goes on for quite a while, and there's pretty much a stalemate. The Doctor's not going to leave the planet, but he's also not going to bring back the Time Lords. Nothing's really happening. So the Kovarian chapter of the papal mainframe decides, you know what, we're going to intervene and we're going to do something about this in our own way. So the Kovarian chapter, with the silence, they want to stop the Doctor from reaching Trenzalore to prevent him from answering the question which will bring back the Time Lords. So, what they do, they decide the Doctor needs to die. They travel back in time into his past and plot to kill him by blowing up the TARDIS. Now, this plan almost works, except for one problem. The Alliance, a band of aliens and monsters who are against the Doctor, also decide the Doctor needs to be stopped, and they trap him inside the Pandorica. So, they blow up the TARDIS, but the Doctor's in the Pandorica, and so he doesn't die. Unfortunately, by blowing up the TARDIS, this created the cracks in time. This is a destiny trap. The Kovarian chapter created the events they tried to prevent. They became part of history they did not want to happen. So the first attempt failed. So they tried again another time. This time they decided to kidnap the Doctor's wife, River Song, when she was a baby, and basically manipulated her and engineered her to become a psycho killing machine. hoping that later on in life she would kill the Doctor. Now, she tried this 2 times. So, in the first meeting, she used the poisonous lipstick, which almost worked, except the Doctor persuaded River Song to save him, and she used her regenerations to bring him back to life. The second time, the Kovarian chapter kidnapped River Song as an adult and forced her into the spacesuit and forced her to kill the Doctor on Lake Silentio. Luckily, the Doctor had this planned. He knew what's coming, so he got himself inside the Tesselector, which was disguised as himself, and it looked like he died, when in fact he didn't. So, after 2 assassination attempts, the Doctor eventually reached Trenzalore. He was asked the question, but he never answered it because he didn't feel it was safe for the Time Lords to return. Instead, he stayed on Christmas and protected it until the end of his life. Now, actually, there's 2 timelines. The first timeline, the Doctor eventually died by the Daleks, and his TARDIS outgrows itself and becomes his tomb, and he's buried inside the TARDIS. This is what we see in The Name of the Doctor. Whereas in the second timeline, the one that actually goes through, Clara asked the Time Lords for help, and they gave him extra regenerations, and so he regenerated and lived. And this is the timeline that stood and continued to today. To conclude, the 11th Doctor's era, the whole plot surrounding it was basically the Silence and the Kovarian chapter trying to prevent the Doctor from reaching Trenzalore and answering the question to stop him from bringing the Time Lords back. Everything that was involved led up to that point. And there you have it. That was my basic summarization of the 11th Doctor's era. Did this help you understand everything better? Please let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please comment your thoughts on this video as well. But most importantly, please subscribe. We've hit 600 and we're on our way to 700. So keep and help us growing up and up. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. See ya.